I have my very good friend Shonto Begay here today. Shonto brought me some paintings, which is always like Christmas. And it is Christmas, but it's really Christmas for us when new paintings come in. So how did we get so lucky to get some paintings?
Well, I didn't have any travel bug this year.
Yeah.
So I just stayed in my studio and just do what I do and try to do the best way I can.
Yeah, you've been producing some really great material. I mean, some really significant paintings this last, I don't know, since the pandemic. Seems like there's a more of a creative flow. I don't know if that's true or not. You'd have to tell me.
I think it is. I think the past few years since the pandemic, around that area, it seemed like everybody went sort of inward.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of those are just kind of coming to the surface. All the angst,
yes,
the beauty, the prayers, especially the prayers in form of paintings.
Mm.
And that's how I've always seen my work.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just more earnest prayers.
Mm. And do you give those prayers every day? I don't know. You can share if you don't. But
well, I do. Verbally,
yes,
as an offering to another day.
Yes.
To another day, to wake up in gratitude.
That's exactly what I do.
And petitioning the spirits, for all the goodness and blessing, kindness and peace and whatever.
Yeah.
It is all practiced daily.
Yes.
But I think that for me, that chant to the universal kindness is always continued in the paintings.
Mm. Yeah, I see that. I see so many things in your paintings. I think that's one of the things that I love about you as an artist is that I never know what we're going to get, right? I literally never know. I mean, it could be social commentary. I mean, you did this painting that I got out of your studio of the person going into the Hogan dark with the mask on, which I think that's actually one of your strongest paintings, just from a sense of dread. I don't know what it is, but that's what good paintings are, right?
Yeah, it's dealing with the moment.
Yeah. And so when you have this unique capability of to be able to do amazing landscapes, figurative work, commentary, sometimes just joy and happiness, sometimes not. Religious, spiritual, animals, trees. How do you decide that? What you're going? I mean, I know that's a hard question to answer, but how do you decide? Okay, this is what I'm going to do today.
Well, I think a lot of what I do in landscape, especially, is dictated by the season.
Mm.
The time of the season, of course, I throw in more snow in the work. Not only document when it was made, what time of the year it was made, but also celebrating the season. Mm. We call it Navajo winter.
Mm.
So that's one of them. But a lot of it is just feeling that at the moment you catch.
Mm.
Sometimes it might be just spending time in front of a blank canvas and drawing something out of there. It's something that you really can't describe. It's just a feeling of something being, there that you have to get, like a sculpture, revealing what's already inside the stone.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. Sometimes I dress in my work and with the various tones, and some of those tones might create themselves into something that, plays with my eyes. In a very, very, might be very, very abstract, but I pull from there.
Mm. And do you decide, because you do small things, but you do also huge work. How do you decide what to do at that moment? Are you going to do a little painting or a big painting?
Well, large painting, I still like to do something that is, can be seen in the grander view, in the grander space.
Mm.
Smaller things, I keep a little simpler, landscape with figures, trees, something like that. The grander scale might be more like a social as well. Like the kitchen scene during the pandemic, afternoon light, those type of things. I like those images that just gives your eyes a recharge
Mm-hmm.
and your mind a jump start, and you're connected in some way with the heart. Those grander views, the big views, the landscape it could be.
Mm-hmm.
So this year I'll be doing some trees on a larger scale.
Yeah,
So,
your trees are very powerful.
I've done a lot of trees. I love it because the trees is what I see. First of all, the grandfather tree
Mm-hmm.
is what I call them. The grandfather tree is always juniper. And juniper, of course, is the strength, wisdom, protection.
Mm-hmm.
And from juniper, we get a lot of things. We get a lot of our medicines. We get a lot of food. We get fuel. We
Mm-hmm.
get blessings. The logs for our home, the long-lasting, all of these. From the pinyon, it's a grandmother. It's also a gifting tree. So those two trees I've been working with. And this past 10 years or so, I think I've done enough trees to make a forest.
Yeah, but they're always different.
They are.
Yeah,
but they're always dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I told you they're always dancing.
Yeah, this one you just brought us in with the tree on the right and the vista.
Yeah.
It has that sensibility. It definitely does a sense of freedom to the tree.
Yeah. I always see it as a dance of the grandparents.
Mm.
Yeah,
because you intertwine them, right? Often you'll see them intertwined.
They're intertwined and they're rooted deep on the very ground that I was born and where my umbilical cord is buried up in Shonto. That's pretty much where my whole inspiration comes from, in that area where I view Black Mesa across the valley and White Mesa way off in the western distance and the Navajo Mountain to the north.
Yes.
And way down to the south is, of course, the tailland Black Mesa, Tonalea dust.
Yes. Well, and the painting that you brought in, we were talking about it before we came in here, Black Mesa Gold, which, man, that's such a strong painting. It just resonates with me. I know you can tell that. And, it's not big. It's, 18 by 24 or something. But the way that you captured the foreground of your land, and maybe you can just describe it because you were telling me, and I think it's worth memorializing this painting because I do think it's such a strong painting.
Well, it is a strong painting because it's from a real space, from a real place, from the space that I still live, where my Shonto home studio is. And that's the view from my deck.
Mm-hmm.
And overlooking the whole Cliffla Valley, 5 miles across to Black Mesa.
Mm.
And Black Mesa has always formed the eastern horizon of my world growing up. And so that's always been a very sacred and holy, as a powerful being.
Mm.
The body of the grandmother.
Yet they put a coal mine on it.
Yep, they put a coal mine on it, and then they left.
Yeah.
So she shook it off. But that's where I grew up. At the land I know well. The land that's just pasture, the huge pastures of sagebrushes, snakeweeds, chamisas, all these plants. We have beautiful plants up there. Of course, cliff roses.
Mm-hmm.
Make the whole mesa where I live in the spring, especially, just smell like rose.
Mm. And that's where your umbilicus is planted too, right? Right there. Yeah. So you're really grounded into that. Mm-hmm. The land is you, and you are the land, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because my umbilical cord is buried there where I painted from, where the view is from, it's buried there forever. That's where when a child is born, the umbilical cord is buried somewhere. So that's my place right there. Yeah. So knowing that, you can go anywhere in the world and feel at home because, the earth holds your origin.
Yeah. And when you look at that painting, I'm sure when you painted it, you're probably in your studio on Flag, right?
I did.
But it's probably just blazoned into your mind, each of those little stones.
It is.
Yeah, I would think so.
It's almost like, a lot of things I know, like that's almost, it's almost guided by the hand. Mm. It's almost like it creates itself. you know.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah.
That painting feels that way. It feels effortless in some way to me. You know, there's an energy to that painting that I could just recognize for whatever reason. Probably because it came through your, your eye, your heart, all that, and it just lays itself out so beautifully.
And like I said before, and it's always the painting that I do is always a see it as a visual chant, a chant, a prayer. Each lines, squiggles and circles, and semicircle, whatever. All of these I see as syllables to words, to sentences, to paragraphs, to huge part of protection prayer, blessing way prayers.
It has a sound and a rhythm to it.
Yeah. Ho, Jean, go, di, jen, ch, denis, es. These syllables, I feel, is embedded in each one of those strokes. And so with each painting, I feel like there's a new ceremony created, a prayer created, a prayer, a blessing, put out into the world.
It's interesting. Yeah. Russell Case, I don't know if you know his work, but I think he's at the Masters too. He said for him, it is music. He sees the beat of the music. He's a very spiritual, religious person. And I wonder if it isn't the same kind of thing for him.
It is. Yeah. Because chants are rhythmic.
Yes.
Chants uttered in ceremonial are rhythmic, and they are, full of voices. And it is poetry at its finest in Navajo. And it is what it is. So the music is there.
And basically each painting is a ritual as well. Yes. To some extent, right? Which I think are so important in our lives to have those kind of things. So
that's why I do those. I do pretty much all subjects except portraits, maybe still life.
Right. Though you might do a still life in a painting, in a sense, that you might have something in there. Yeah. The grandmother with the fly swatter feels that way. I was looking at that this morning, so it's in my bedroom, and it's on top, and below is the one of Indian School, which I'd like to talk about together. And that painting is so powerful. It's a very small painting. And I was looking at it. For one thing, it was painted in 2003. So we've been together at least 20 years now, which is hard to imagine.
Yeah.
But Gary Shandling, who was a friend of mine, he came into my house once and was looking at all my art, and he thought that was the best painting.
Wow.
Of my collection. Yeah. I don't disagree.
Which one is that again?
So she's got a fly swatter. You're looking at her straight on.
Right.
And she has a fly swatter in her hand, and she's just looking kind of stern at you. I don't know the title. It's probably.
Was she under the arbor?
Yes.
With the shadow?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Small but powerful.
Yeah, I like that. I can see that. I can see one of those, in a larger scale.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting. It's just small. It's probably 12 by 14 at the most. But it's so powerful. It works so well. And then below it is a painting that is the dichotomy of that painting to some extent, which is one I bought from you years ago, and you did years ago, of you, I believe it was you, with your arms out like this.
Yes.
Looking up, tears in your eyes, and the blue on the back is the water
tank,
water tank, right?
Yeah.
So powerful. Maybe you could talk about that. And, we had talked that you might share a little bit about your experience with Indian schools, because it's such a,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes who you are, I guess, to some extent.
I guess a lot of this comes from also the, childhood traumas now shedding in a powerful way, still, shedding, through boarding schools. I learned how to use art as a means of escape. The brutish and brutal reality at the time. Being in a government residential school and far away from home, and just things foreign And it was just it was not a good place to be at tender young age.
Yeah, how old were you?
I was not even 10.
Yeah. Oh my God.
7 or something like that. But that's why we were sent. And every day we can see the sacred mountain to the west.
Mm.
Every day we hoped and prayed that something would happen to transport us back to our homeland, over 100 miles north. We were just situated and interned at in the little Colorado Depression, what I like to call it, loop. But a group of us from the northern part, Shonto area, Navajo Mountain area, we got so homesick and just terrible. So one day, one of the younger ones of us as well, he was a kind of a budding medicine man, but he was a young man, same age as I am. So he says, "We're going to try to go home today. We're going to go home today." I said, "How?" He said, "We're going to travel on the path of rainbow, and that'll take us back. And the big wind will take us, guide us. The big wind." So I said, "Wow, it sounds exciting," and I believed that because So he said, "Well, we're going to first have to pray. We're going to stand together." So we went in the back of the dormitory. There's a manhole. Mound, concrete mound with a manhole cover. So we all stood on the manhole cover, holding hands, hugging each other, really. And then Floyd started chanting, praying, and keep your eyes closed. So we kept our eyes closed. Everybody kept their eyes. 5 little boys. And he said, soon the great wind is going to come pick us up and take us home. So, wow, sometimes I can't wait. So he's there chanting, praying, and I open my eyes slightly. Way over there to the west, I could see Dust Devil kind of weaving back and forth. I said, oh, maybe that's it. So I closed my eyes really tight again. I opened slightly later, and it was getting closer and closer and closer. And I got really excited. We're going home. And so I just closed my eyes again. A few minutes later, they came up behind the hill and under the water tower, and it was coming straight for us. I said, okay, we're going to go home. I closed my eyes again, and I could, and I opened my eyes later. We're still standing on the manhole cover. We didn't go anywhere. We were just covered in dust and tumbleweeds. And then Floyd said, well, it could have worked, but somebody had their eyes open.
When you think about that story, though, maybe that's deeper than it goes, right? I mean, it did come to you. It did.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
whole thing. It stuck with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of inspiration comes from. That experience.
Yes.
From a very organic tradition, culture into something very geometric, new, and Christianity, everything else involved, being brought into that. All of a sudden, it just went through this time brain warp.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's trauma in real time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically taken away from everything cultures, your language. Yeah.
Everything I believed, and it seemed like a lot of things I believed in was desecrated that day because I broke through my horizon for one thing. That held my world safely together. Yeah. It was my Shangri-La, my paradise right there.
Yes.
In the only area in the valley that I can see. And then all of a sudden I'm out on the other side in the canyon. And then we went to Loop, the boarding school, went over the mesa, across the Hopi, and all the way across on the other side of the res.
Oh yeah.
So that was quite traumatic, of course, needless to say, but it also shaped my vision. Because all those during that time, I just created drawing. I drew to create my own reality. I guess is what it was. There's a little group of boys that drew, and we did pictures. We copied comic books and comic strips. mine was always I started my first drawing really in boarding school used copying sad sack. Remember sad sack?
Oh yeah, of course.
It had a big nose. Sometimes he falls with
I actually copied.
peel.
I actually copied sad sack as well.
Yeah.
When I was about 9, I still have it somewhere.
I learned how to draw banana peel.
Yeah.
From that. So that was inspiration. So it did. I lost myself in picture books, in storybooks. I read to shut off this other world. And I read that was into another world. So that was probably another great opportunity that was afforded me when I learned how to read, was just to devour as much, great stories, on my own. Out there herding sheep, I always had books. I read a lot of Louis L'Amour, a lot of Western, just a lot. And I just loved it.
Well, you're a great writer, too. I mean, you really are. So that's part of it, I guess.
And along the way, alongside the books, I also had an etch-a-sketch.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I always had an etch-a-sketch because, the very first time that anybody...
and he still has one, by the way. He brought it with him. It was in his backpack.
Yeah.
So this is why you want to watch us on YouTube it's not as the same as when you listen to it. But I've seen these and they just blow my mind. And so this was kind of at that same time?
Yeah, I'd always like to start at about 11 o'clock.
Yes. So what he's doing, he's working ambidextrously as fast as you can imagine, drawing. And the things that he can do are insanely...
Okay,
etch-a-sketch.
Now we're going to make a happy little cap here.
Yeah, okay. So this kind of started in boarding school time for him?
Well, yeah, in boarding school, Christmas time, this time of the year, we had sponsors. I guess what it is, but there was some Christmas present. All of a sudden, the first present we ever had,
right?
And that was kind of a little bright spot. But there's a whole different story about the whole different trauma. But we got gifts,
yeah.
And I remember the boys in my dormitory. Some of them got etch-a-sketch like this.
Yes.
And then they played with it, a few straight lines.
Right.
And then they got tired of it. And then because it was, I don't know, maybe it was hard to handle. But
it is hard to handle.
So they just got tired of it, and I just all of a sudden I had a whole bunch of them. They were the ones that were tossed aside. I just picked up, and when I went herding sheep, I always took one of these.
An etch-a-sketch.
Etch-a-sketch, and that was my first. Laptop.
Uh-huh. Oh my gosh! Look at that. There's a guy with a hat. We'll take a photo of that. But if you can see that, again, go to YouTube. You can watch this. And do they still? And what's amazing about this is that is insanely difficult to do for 99.999% of the people, because you're not doing straight lines. You're doing, circles and different things.
It's just eye-hand coordination.
Yes.
And I like etch-a-sketch because it's impermanent.
Yes, like a sand painting.
Yeah, like sand paint. Like it's in sand painting, either heal a mandala. So I view the same as a healing.
Yes.
And also it kind of adds to the whole prayer thing.
Do they still make etch-a-sketch?
I think it's anymore. It's kind of hard to find, but when I find it, I make sure, I get a hold of it.
So when you find one, you buy it.
Oh yeah.
Until you wear them out.
Until I wear them out.
I'm sure people want to buy them too when they see these things too.
They come in various forms. I've had one that was like keychain.
Yes. Could you do it? Could you manipulate the little teeny?
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's so amazing. So here we go. You can look at that, and you can see that he's drawn the whole person. And how do you decide like something? Did that just come to you?
It just comes, just always there.
Oh my
it's
God,
always there.
That's unbelievable.
And I try to do a lot of my etch-a-sketch. I do for fun.
Yes.
In the morning, I'm at Flagstaff. In the morning, I sit in the coffee shop and I do that. Kind of loosen up the hand, the wrist, and of course, and then you just do it for fun.
Yeah, and people must come over when you're in Flag, seeing what you're doing, right?
Well, yeah, some of them do.
I would if I
no.
saw somebody doing that, especially with your hands are so facile and so quick.
Yeah, but I try not to do any of this, spend time any more than 6 minutes on any of these.
And why 6 minutes? Why that?
That seems to be that good time. Any more than that, you're creating something that's, you may not want to erase or lose it. No, so it's meant to be impermanent. And I like to keep it that way. Just do one image and just maybe shake it again.
Yes.
A lot of times it's something I just take a picture of it. So you have a record of it.
And you must have lots of images of those, right?
I do.
You should do a book on that.
I wish I would do. I had a show.
Yes, I think we had talked about once doing something like this too.
I had a show when there was when etch-a-sketch was more readily available.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting various sizes, and I was sitting in the gallery, doing it and putting it on the wall.
Mm.
It wasn't like an inventory done beforehand.
Right. Yes, here we go.
Yep, another one.
Yeah, you should look and see if you have, if you've got enough photographs. It'd be a very cool book. It would be a really interesting book. Nothing else like it, probably. I guarantee you, actually, especially from your perspective, right?
Well, I make sure that I have a few, like I said, maybe about 6 working etch-a-sketches now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So Barbara Ornelas says she's a weaver. She's up in she's from.
Her.
Yeah, you know her. So she took a Barbie that was supposed to be like an Indian Barbie that they had put out many decades ago, and she reworked the whole Barbie so it was real for her. She made little squash blossoms. She wove beautiful, blanket for the skirt, and she made it her own.
Wow.
Piece, which is, and I did a little Instagram on that. It's amazing, just like this is. I mean, you're taking something that's pop culture, mainly for white kids, probably in some respect, and turning it into your own form of art with a different meaning too, right? Your meaning goes from warming up my hands all the way to religious impertinence.
Right.
Only 6 minutes, can't be any longer, can't keep. This is for me. This is to say, it's like a prayer, really, in some way, isn't it?
Right, it is.
Yeah. So interesting.
It is. Anytime you are in a mode of creating.
Yes.
Yeah, you are in a state of prayers.
I think that's something people can take away.
Yeah.
Any person can take that away, when they're there. I'm sure many artists already feel that anyway. That's probably one of the reasons that they feel so compelled to create, because it eases your mind to some extent.
Right.
It's work, and there's times you're like go insane when you can't get it right, especially for Stephen Datz. Love you, Stephen, but
but we've always there's always been sort of a little parameter within which we can depict as Diné growing up, what we can easily just or casually depict, like lightning, like serpent, like anything alluding to death, or those type of things, sacred, deep, strong things that are usually discouraged from being depicted by an artist, without thinking, or without consciousness about what he or she is putting on into their work, into the public. So I didn't do any serpent for years, ever since I was a kid. It wasn't until I was, 30, 40 years old that I started experimenting with various things. But each time I paint a lightning, it's not just, okay, here's a lightning.
Right.
No, it's always very constantly being aware
of
the power, of the spirit of that you're depicting.
Yes.
That is why to this day I don't do yays.
Mm.
I don't do sand paintings, because these are the two things I grew up with.
Mm.
Growing up in a house, the Hogan full of powerful medicine people,
Right.
and weavers. I was all told that these are things that we only use in prayers and as healing.
Mm.
As a young man, one of the old medicine sand painters one day got sick. He couldn't make it to the sand painting event, and so somebody said, "There's a kid who can draw over there. Get him out. Get him over here. He can draw." So there I was, at the age of 6 or something like that, hunched over with all these three old guys and me, in 4 different directions, creating the mandala in the morning on a bed of special sand from a cornfield, clear, clean, with using earth color, grounded earth color, various earth and vegetal, creating these beautiful design. But I didn't have any artistic liberty because it's an ancient template.
Right.
So we had to do it exactly how it's been done for eons. So I had to follow the instruction. And each time the medicine man is chanting and singing, you can't get ahead of him.
It's a rhythm.
You have to the rhythm, so you have to work the area that is being, sung and prayed.
Right.
And then, of course, a beautiful sand painting mandala arrives, and you scoot away. And the patient is brought in, and they sit
In the middle, right?
on and draw out the illness.
Yes.
So that was that's what I started out with. So I figured the first line that I did very seriously with a lot of thought and prayer was in prayer. Was to the sound of prayer. It was also for the intent of somebody getting healed, somebody finding peace.
Right. Empathy toward that patient.
Yeah. So that's why I've always held my art, my profession, my craft, my gift, my blessing as a very sacred endowment. It's not nothing to be abused or misused. I don't know. Just always felt like if I wasn't selling anything, I would love to keep on doing it.
Yeah, you would for sure.
Yeah,
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah. So that's how I grew up. That's the thing I want that I respect, and not to just do yay and put a price on it.
Right.
Yay, put a price on another yay,
Right.
yay.
Right.
Or sand painting.
Right.
And I've met several young sand painters in the last part of the last decade that had come to me and said, the old medicine women were right. They said, I've been doing sand painting, with flair and whatever, selling it left and right.
Right.
And then he said, I've got a series of really bad luck. I've got a series of, the misfortunes.
Right.
And I knew that there was the result of the abuse of the sacred. Or just totally over commodifying the sacred.
Right. Right.
And so that's the only place I'll give myself that parameter.
Yes. And do you do serpents and snakes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wear one around my neck. So.
That's fine. That is fine. Again, in my home studio out in Shonto, I live with a bull snake. It's not a pet.
No.
It just comes in on its own. During certain seasons, and get rid of mice.
Yes.
And the rodents. And then it goes back after it's done. So I named him Hank. And once in a while he's seen.
Yeah.
And then leave a little water out for him.
Yes.
And so the bull snake.
Yeah.
Besides my totem, my totem is bull snake.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And so, but you have painted things that are spiritually related at times, right? White Shell Woman and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's White Shell Woman, Hero Twins.
Yeah, right.
Those are all stories. Those are all stories that are not, banned from depiction. and they're also open to wonderful interpretation.
Sure.
Utilizing all the holy elements and the stories, and that way you will also keep the stories going. To keep the stories alive, to give stories drama, to give it some permanence.
Right, and it's out on the reservation. Are the young individuals, kids, learning the language, learning the religion, all the history? Is it staying intact fairly much?
I guess there's a lot more interest in the culture I see these days. The languages is being taught online and everywhere else.
Yes.
I see young people, getting more into the culture. Although a lot of time it's almost all Pan-American Indian culture.
Yeah.
But there's pride.
Yeah.
There's pride in that. It keeps evolving. We don't. We're not going to. There will be no. I doubt we'll go back to really dress in the old traditional way. The traditional dress and everything is evolving.
Sure.
And so it is. So I think it is that there's a sense of excitement and regeneration.
Yes.
Resurrection of really longing for knowledge. Like in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, it seemed like there was a lot of repression. People want to get out of there and shed that. It seemed like a lot.
Well, they're also being put in boarding schools.
Yeah,
which is helping that along exponentially.
Mm-hmm. So I feel the language is there. But it is changing as well. Which like everything else, it's evolving.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we've survived so far, just being flexible.
Yeah, very flexible.
Yeah,
I mean, you've had to survive
because the Navajo language spoken 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If they came to me and spoke to me in that language, say, and I would understand most of it. But a lot of those old expressions are, I think, lost. But that the key parts of the communication is still there.
Yes. It seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, when I go out, the reservation, I always feel that I'm immersed into a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good world. But I mean, it feels comfortable with me, but I grew up around Native culture. I'm from New Mexico, and I just, I like that sense when I'm there. But it's different. I think for some people who would come in there, they would not quite understand it. But to me, it's just like, yeah, I'm home.
Yeah.
I'm home.
Yeah. So that's what I like to stay involved in. Is a lot of time my world at the moment. That's why I did a bunch of cityscape when I was in Manhattan some years ago.
Yes.
And
different kind of mountain.
I look back at that and said, wow, it's when you can look back on your work and it still wows you.
Yes.
It still wows you. That's a great space to be in.
Yes. Well, I mean, you'll work on certain paintings for a very long period of time. I mean, I have that, what I think is one of your more important paintings, just from a contextual standpoint, is the one of the guy with the can and flipping the bird and all the all the words around it. I mean, you worked on that for 8 years or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. And, to help you transition through some phase of your life.
Yeah, I remember that's one of the important pieces I did. I don't know where it went.
My house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I bought it from you when you brought it in. That was years ago.
I would like to have a photograph of it.
I can do that.
Really clear, good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I look at it all the time. Yeah. It's so powerful. You feel the pain for sure, not only in the guy,
right,
but also once you understand the backstory of what those words are.
Yeah.
I can't read them, but it's all in Diné. But, it was a transition piece for you, I'm sure. Yeah, I remember when you brought it in, you said, yeah, it's time to let this go.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that one needs to be saved for me. That one needs to end up in a museum or whatever. So, and I don't think they wanted it for the Wheelwright show. I offered it. I think they should take things like that. I think those are important. So, but I guess if you can read the language, some of it may not be as appropriate. But it's like a very important painting.
It is.
As is Helpless, the one that I have with the cat in the middle.
Oh, that's an amazing piece.
Yes. Yeah,
that's an important piece.
It is very important. Maybe you want to talk about that just a little bit if you want that piece. It's in my house as you come in. It's the first thing I see. And at one point, that painting was away from me for like 6 years because it kept going from museum to museum to museum.
Well, that painting resulted from years we lived in Kayenta, and there was a lot of course, people I know, and there was a lot of problems with alcohol.
Yes.
Abuse and all of that, and also probably domestic abuse. And so there was a place there that sheltered men who were kicked out of their homes. And it was where they can continue doing what they do within the limit. They can't fight or they can't do things like that, but there was within the limit as set by the house rule. But there was a shelter for men.
Yes.
Unofficial. It was just created by a group of friends.
Right.
So in the morning, you go there sometime and everybody be passed out.
Yes.
9, 10, 11 people for partying the night before, and they'd be passed out everywhere and anywhere.
Yes.
Couches, whatever. Anyway, that image is about that. That image was about, that the shadow, it's almost like an audience participation because as an audience, you see the shadow at the doorway.
Yes.
Which is your shadow or the shadow so it is a decision. Do I go in, or do I just keep going?
Yes.
So there was that, and the only one conscious there was the cat.
Right, which was smiling and looking at that person opening the door.
Right.
It was like the one bright light of hope you could see, and go, there is hope here.
Right.
But you need to recognize it.
Exactly. And the cat being a dimension walker, every sheep camp has a cat because the cat's always been believed to be able to ward off spirits.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Ward off rodents, because a lot of times the rodents in our stories come in form of disguised as rodents, mice.
Yes, that's why you need
rats.
Snakes.
So so the cat was there because they see. They are guardian. They're kind of sheep camp cat.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, but it totally makes sense. And as a people, I'm sure they figure it out early on. Mice are not good. They take food, and they have disease. And unless you're a pack rat, and you're pretty tasty. But other than that, yes.
Yeah.
So we just got new work. I don't know. You brought us in like 5 new pieces. In fact, one of them I want to talk about because I really do think it's powerful. It's an image, I assume, it is an image of Black Mesa with an old hogan just in remnants. And then you can see another abandoned hogan just above that, also falling apart, but not as badly as the one that's obviously ancient. Maybe you can talk about that painting a little bit because I do think it's a powerful piece. Yeah,
that is a piece I did on the what they call abandoned sheep camp.
Mm-hmm.
You run across them on a reservation now, and they're kind of, indicating, life was once there.
Mm-hmm.
There was all of that was once there. There was a sheep corral in the foreground, now which is just filled with sand.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe the sand is shifting into that, and eventually it'll be buried.
Yes.
But then the sheep are long gone, and you can't even see the sheep dropping anymore. It's just all covered in sand. But it is, sheep camp, a sheep corral, sticking out of the sand dunes still. And of course, off in the distance, a hogan, a skeleton of a hogan.
Right.
And so that's long been abandoned as well. So who knows what happened there? But in my painting, I painted this, knowing and seeking out what once was there. Because it was what I wanted to do was, to create a harsh
reality.
heartstring to the past.
Yes.
A lot of time you do go across many places like that, and sheep camp, quiet, hogans, falling apart.
Yes.
And quiet, where once you heard children laughing and dogs barking and sheep's bleating, donkeys braying, couples arguing, maybe.
Probably.
Maybe prayers being chanted.
Yeah.
Once where there was, life. All over. Now it's long gone, but now in its place, it's just a remnant of it, of what once held stories.
Yes.
And songs and prayers. Somebody gave life, somebody lived life, somebody laughed and cried there.
And maybe born there.
Yeah.
Probably born there.
So I just wanted to put that in between lights, the shifting light, shadow light across the valley. And so that was highlighted. Yes,
you can see it. Yes. And so do you look at that? I do actually, as in a weird way, as an uplifting painting.
Yeah.
Because it is, the energy's still there, even though most of it's gone, but you can still feel the history, the story is there. And that's for all of us, right? I mean, that changes for all of us. You come back 200 years right now, this is not here. None of this is here. This will be gone. Maybe desert. I don't know what it'll be, but it won't be this building. It'll probably be completely something, but not this. I try not to go dwell on those things, but it's true. I mean, the things that are permanent are the land, the mountains, those things. They'll still be there. The junipers probably will still be there. The sorrels hopefully will still be there.
Yeah.
Oh, we went deep, didn't we?
I think we did.
Yeah, we did. So if people want to find you, you have an Instagram. Now you mainly do Instagram versus Facebook. Is that true or both?
Well, I'm new to Instagram.
Yes.
I'm just kind of fooling around with it now.
Yes.
Once in a while I throw things on that. But my assistant, Diane, she's been doing a lot of my PR.
Yes.
So she does that, I just do the regular Facebook, showing off things.
Yes. Yeah. And what's the Facebook account? I mean, I go to it. I don't know the URL. Do you know is it Shonto Begay?
Just Shonto Begay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. If you put it in there. Yeah. And it's always fun to see because you are a great writer. And I think you're a deep thinker. You'll put those up, the posts sometimes. Sometimes those posts are very, they're meaningful for sure. And you can feel the moment of what you're doing. You're not afraid to, just like on this podcast, you're not afraid to share your feelings of that moment of what's going on. And so I encourage people to go and follow that. And if they happen to be in LA in February, Shonto's going to be at the Master Show there as well, and he'll have a few pieces. And then, we get pieces periodically, and when we're lucky, we get a show with Shonto too. Anything else you want to share or add? Well, I just continued painting until I get a travel bug. Yes. Even then, of course, we're traveling with Chrissy and I. She has her art supplies. I got my art supplies. Yes, I'm sure. So we just pull off the road somewhere and just sit and draw. Yeah. I just detour for like an hour and just draw. Yes. Yeah. Well, you're a true artist and gentleman and friend. So. Thank you. Yeah, I love your work. I collect it. I encourage everybody if you don't know his work, you're missing out, my friends. Well, you certainly have the finest taste in art. Well, I do in some things, and yours is one of them. I look at your paintings all the time. So, I did have one question I wanted you to ask, because there is what I would consider iconic Shonto Begay imagery, which is in the Herds collection, the Booth collection, which is this, truck, and it's going down the road with, grandmothers or whoever might be in it. How did that happen that you got to that, and why is that? I mean, I think of it as kind of iconic. I finally got one for my own collection, but I guess it's just one of the image I know. I hitchhike a lot. Yes. And being out on a reservation, in order to connect with families and community, you have to drive a long way. Yes.
And so, we just have a lot of trucks on the road. That's old beat up res trucks.
Right.
But they keep going. And so this is what I know, hitchhiking. I started when I was like 15 years old and just to put myself out of the world and out of my horizon with no destination. Come home for the school year and take off again. That was just pretty much how I became a Rhodes Scholar.
And going to some very good schools.
A dusty Rhodes Scholar. Yeah. And going to good school, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have great academic training as well. So, which shows. Well, Shonto, thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a picture of that. You should too, before it gets destroyed. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're kind of trying to relax a little bit, and I sucked an hour and a half out of your life. Let me get a photo of that with you right there before you destroy or do anything. So, I don't know. Yeah. So this is the fun part. For me, what I'm doing is actually videoing Shonto as we do the podcast to just kind of show what's going on. In the hands, that's dead air. It's not good, but the reality is it's so entertaining for just me alone too, just to watch it, that I can't help but want to be in the moment. And this really is being in the moment. You can see, and there you have that, and there's Shonto. And so we'll post this image as well. Hang on one second, I'll do this too. Great, one more. Don't go away. I just find this amazing. The ability to do what you can do.
Isn't it?
My God, yeah. It's such a pleasure to be able to call you a friend and have you in the gallery and just live with your art. So
yeah, I feel the same way.
Thank you.
I mean, I think we have a good partnership going here.
We do, and we've for a long time too.
Yeah.
Well, I think we keep our expectations to reasonable. You paint as much as you can, and I don't ask for more than you can do.
Yeah.
And I'm always appreciative when I get the material, and I'm even more appreciative when I take one home and put it in my house.
Yeah. This was one of the.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. So let's take a picture of this too. This may be the most unusual podcast because we're if you're watching on YouTube, it may not be as interesting. So is that a hawk or something?
Yeah, kind of a raven or something.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. It's crazy. That's unbelievable. Yeah, you need to do a book on this etch-a-sketch art for sure. Yeah, because it's like doing oh yeah, that's amazing. God. So and so this is showing. I'll put a picture on the thing, but it's a cowboy with a coffee on a bar. And how? So what happened to that? Bye-bye? Or do you know? Do you know if that one? It's the most intricate, probably one of the most intricate etch-a-sketch drawings that I've ever seen. It may be the most intricate drawing, one of them that anybody's ever done, I would think.
Yeah.
There can't be too many things like that out in the world by anybody. I mean, that's insane. So now we'll be inundated with people going, we would like to have an etch-a-sketch drawing. Anything 6 minutes or under are not available.
Yep. Anything going over 6 minutes.
Yeah. No, it really would be a remarkable show. Oh my gosh. That's like, I just don't even know. That's so, he's got, what's in his hand? This is an image of a...
Maybe TV remote or his cell phone or...
Yeah. So it's an image. Again, we'll put this up, but it shows an individual in like a recliner chair with designs. He looks like he could be Jerry Garcia, and he's got, again, to do these designs are unbelievable. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time, and we'll get your paintings out, and some lucky person's going to get some lucky people. I hope not.
Wonderful
person will get some more things to add to their collection when it comes to Shonto Begay. All right.
Well,
I'll take this little thing off.
Diane's been
yes,
has been really cracking that velvet whip. In a way, he said, "Okay, now we got this thing. Now you need to get some work for Mark."
I love this.
Because the Salt Lake City show would have been hard to do because a lot of times people do come to the studio and they said, "No, I'll take this. Can I take this?"
Yeah.
So she said, every time you complete a painting that you're going to show there, bring to my house.
Yes.
After this photograph, so I've been doing the collecting, storing it at her house.
Yes.
So it did a whole bunch of them there. That's the one that went to Salt Lake City for the show last winter.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diane. All right. Very good. I'll let you get back to enjoying your time.